And he sent the saliva of his lizard to ancestral.com. Did you know his lizard came back 34% Nigerian? I'm just saying. So man, all this propaganda, man. And look, I don't care if they mad at me or not. All I'm saying is research what I'm saying. I know it sounds taboo, but what happened if the biggest conspiracy in the history of lies happened? And that is that we are indigenous from America. We come from America. We don't come from Africa. But in order for them to take the precious treasures of America, which we have oil, we have gold, we have copper, we have all of that here. They act like all this is in Africa. All this is here too. What happened if it was to drive us out, connect us back to Africa, for we want to go back home, and while we going back to so-called home, we're leaving our home and they taking over our land?
What's going on, y'all? Much love, peace, and blessings to everybody checking into the video. I want to do a reaction video to the brother Yahki Awakened. Okay, he did an interview on I Never Knew TV, and some of the topics in which he was talking about, which I want to discuss in this video, is the so-called African American people of this land over here in the Americas and in the islands and so on and so forth. Are we indigenous to these lands over here, or are we exactly what we were taught in school through the transatlantic slave trade? Are we originally from Africa, or are we the indigenous people of this land? I want you guys to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We will play the video. We're not going to play it straight through just for copyright purposes. We're going to stop it and discuss it. But I want to invite you guys back to the channel, man. If you guys new to the channel, really appreciate everybody for checking back into the video. This your boy Get a Mic, and if you new, I invite you to subscribe. Okay, feel free to hit the like button if you like this type of content. But I definitely want to get into this topic because this is something that I have been thinking about for a long time when it comes to my family as well. Both of my grandparents on both of my sides of the family look indigenous. All right, that's just first. All right, they got that indigenous look. They about the same complexion. They look indigenous to this land, in my personal opinion. I know probably a lot of you guys feel the same way, but this is just something that I was thinking about from the standpoint of how war works. Okay, whenever a land or a country, an army takes over another land, a lot of times they come and conquer the land. They take the land. They make the people of the land slaves, if all the ones that they didn't, unalive, and they make the rest of the people slaves to work the field. And I think that's a lot of times what a lot of people are missing. I don't necessarily know how efficient it would be, right, to take 1 million or so, 2-3 million people and stack them in the boats when you can conquer the land and use the people on the land to make you money. But that's just my thoughts. Let's get into some of this video and we'll talk about it right here. Let's go.
The reason why I say so-called African Americans, because not all, but 98% of the so-called Africans that's in America are not African at all. We actually are indigenous to this land and we come from this land. So we have to quit acting like that all life started in Africa. No, all life stimulated everywhere. There have been black people on every inch of this planet since the beginning of this earth. So we have to understand that and really do the research. And when you really do that research and you travel the world, you will see that.
Yeah, I agree with that point. A lot of people know that there has been melanated, copper-colored people on every single land on this earth. A lot of times we get into it and we learn in school as well about the colonization of the Europeans and how they, colonized and moved around the world, taking over lands and things of that nature. But before that, every single land where there were people at on this earth had dark-skinned people, copper-colored people, brown-skinned people all throughout the earth. So I agree with that in my personal opinion.
You go to Asia and you go to China, the first people there that are still there now that they have ran to the mountains was Asiatic so-called Africans. The only reason why they put African to anything that's black, but that's not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, if you go to Africa, most of your African tribes don't even call that land Africa. They have another name for it. So where do we get this name from?
Well, we know Africa was named after, what's the guy's name? Africanus, if I'm not mistaken. What was his name? Africanus. Wait, Leo Scipios Africanus, I think his name is. The origin of the name of Africa has been debated forever. It's misconception that the continent was named after General Scipio Africanus, nor is his name after Leo Scipios, a man who would come much later. Both of them got their names from Africa and not the other way around. I don't know if that's true. Let me see. Where's variously Africa Terra? Is Africa named after Scipio Africanus? Or see, Africa during. The name Africa is believed to have originated from the ancient Romans. Either way you look at it, I imagine that the people that originally came from that land, that originally lived in that continent called Africa today, they've been known to call that a lot of different names. The land of Ham and many other names. But let's get into this video.
You start saying that these names are named after conquistadors or people that go on quest and take over things. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I say so-called African Americans, I say African Americans because we identify as that as black people in America. I say so-called because me personally, I am not a African. Now, am I saying that I'm not in a relation or my DNA doesn't match Africa? Of course, we all are family. The whole world was black before white people were created. I want to keep that clear. Everything was indigenous. You have indigenous people of African lands. You have indigenous people of American lands. You have indigenous people of Asian lands. You have indigenous people of European lands.
Also, Australia as well, the Aborigines of Australia. So every single land, he's right. I think a lot of people know this to be factual, that a lot of people don't know that the majority of the lands on this earth, okay, the original people of these lands was dark-skinned people. That's facts.
The indigenous people of European lands was called the Moors. They call it the Dark Ages. Why do they call it the Dark Ages? Because it was ran and controlled by dark people before white conquistadors came and became oppressors over that land. So everywhere on Earth, even in Australia, you have the Aborigines. So everywhere you go on Earth, there's a so-called black melanated being that originated there first. All life did not start in Africa. Many people are now starting to talk about that. There's a bunch of literature and stuff that's now widely.
They even talk about it in Asia. When you go to the original people of Asia, a lot of those people were basically black folks. It seems like every land you go to on the earth, whether it's Asia, Europe, the Dark Ages, like he was just explaining with the Moors, South America, you go down there, a lot of the ancient statues and so on and so forth had black people faces on it. The Americas, Canada, everywhere you go farther enough back into your research and into your history, you're going to find black folks. So a lot of people always like to say that everybody just comes from Africa. Everybody comes from Africa. I don't necessarily know if that's 100% true. And if it is true, then it doesn't mean that the people of that land at one point didn't migrate throughout the earth and pretty much be on every land. But pretty sure we started everywhere.
Spread it, talking about these things. And America is one of the most ancient, oldest civilizations in the world. We have some of the oldest pyramids in the world. We have some of the oldest sphinx in the world. We have some of the oldest literatures and writings in the world. America is the ancient old world. And we can do a debate on this. We can talk about it. Anybody want to sit down and go through the literature? We can. I'm all game for it because I'm that confident in the research and the stuff that I did.
All right, let me see here. There's another piece here that I want to get into.
They weren't fully black looking, but they weren't that light indigenous.
But but then you got the $5 Indian too, where you got the Spanish conquistadors who came in and they made it amongst us on purpose to take over our identity in our land. So you see your typical older natives, they still got dark complexions, but you see them with straight hair and stuff. That's where integration and breeding came in at. And then after a lot of decades after that, you start seeing them have the pointy nose, the long hair. Now they building teepees. We didn't build teepees, we built huts. So if you look at what they're doing and you see where they come from a different part of the world, but they migrated to the Americas and now they got all the casinos, they getting all of these different, rewards from the government, but that all was to keep us out. The whole plot and plan was is to create this mass transatlantic slave propaganda. Not saying that black people was not enslaved in America. We suffered from slavery. My great-great-grandma was actually in slavery. She used to tell me slavery stories. But that was the European man coming over here and taking their own land from them and making them work on their own land. We was already selling and trading cotton. I want to make that clear. They came over and took over our trading of cotton and our selling of cotton and put us in slavery in our own land.
And I've seen a lot of videos like that where it explains that a lot of the maps, and he's probably going to talk about it in this video, but we probably can't play the whole video because we're probably going to get copyrighted for it. However, there's a lot of ancient maps that have, when you look at a lot of the names of the lands over in Africa, East Africa, the Middle Eastern areas and stuff like that, a lot of those lands, there's exact old name cities with those exact same names and things over here in the United States of America. So a lot of people have pulled up and showed, and I'll probably show it in later videos if I can find where I saw that. But a lot of the ancient maps, okay, and there's a lot of people that also talk about this as well. A lot of the ancient maps of this side of the world has a lot of those names, whether it's Lebanon, Egypt, Babylon, just a lot of those different ancient biblical names a lot of times are over here in the United States or the South America and North America. So I don't know, man. There's some interesting stuff. You guys let me know in the comment section how you feel.
Of war. It's a difference. We are more prisoners of war than slavery. That's why, for instance, a slave, that's a product. You make money off of it. You wouldn't castrate it because you would want it to make more slaves. We were castrated. You wouldn't burn hundreds of thousands of them alive. That's your product. Why would you destroy your product and make you more money? We were prisoners of war. They came to our land. They took over our land. The strong ones of us, they broke us mentally, and then they made us work on our own land. How you think we did this shit so good? We're the best cotton pickers because we was picking cotton before they came here.
He said we're the best cotton pickers because they was picking it before they came here. Yeah, man. I mean, in my personal opinion, I mean, you know, with all the research that's being done and all of the ancient maps and all of that, and just from the simple fact of just trying to use a little bit of common sense when it comes down to everything and a lot of things we learned in grade school, from Christopher Columbus discovering the United States of America and the islands, just from all of the different things we learned, man, you got to be extremely careful, man, because I know coming up in grade school, I was taught that millions and millions of indigenous Africans were basically, you know, stacked on ships and brought across the Atlantic Ocean and made to work, which I'm just looking at it from an efficiency standpoint to see how efficient will that actually be when you already have people here on this land. Why would you conquer a land and take people from somewhere else to work on that land when you can conquer the land and make those people work? Because they already know the land, they understand the terrain, and they already been, you know, have an operation going on in that land. Seems like it makes more sense because everywhere else we look in the world, okay, wherever the colonizers has colonized, they've taken over the land and they've made it theirs, and the people actually still either live there or have been pretty much whited out through genetics, right? So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of talk about this a little bit. You know, we probably going to talk about this more. You guys leave it in the comments. I just saw some clips of this video, and I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on it because this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Whether or not we are not from Africa, but we may be actually from this land over here, indigenous, okay? I know a lot of people don't either agree with this guy or don't think he, you know, think he's up to something or up to no good, but at the end of the day, we got to kind of look at the history, and we got to kind of look at it for what it is to see whether or not it is true. I'm not saying 100% or another that it is or it isn't true, but it's something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I think there's a lot of validity to it because I've also heard a lot of other truthers, a lot of other channels like the guy Dane Calloway, and I've even heard NFL players like Adrian Peterson all day. He talked about it, and it's a lot of people that just believes that we might have already started off here and we actually just got conquered, enslaved in our own land. Okay, so that's definitely a possibility. Y'all drop y'all thoughts down below. This your boy Get a Mic. Much love, peace, blessings, and everything in between. If you guys like this content, please smash the like button. Much love, and I'll holler at y'all.